Thank you, Presiding Officer. I would like to begin my contribution this afternoon by reminding the Chamber of how successful, how unique and how important Scotland's education is to the collective, intellectual, international world knowledge economy. In October last year, the British Council published a detailed and comprehensive assessment of Scotland's higher education system and its distinctive and defining strengths. It was authored by Neil Kemp and William Lawton. The report finds that overall learning satisfaction of international students in Scotland is unmatched worldwide, reflecting the Scottish ethos of a higher education as a public good. The Scottish system is world-class and rated highly not only against the rest of the UK, but internationally. The report picks out defining characteristics that are unique to Scotland: the primacy of the learner and the stress on lifelong learning, an integrated and inclusive sector that is internationally active, a no-fees policy for Scottish and EU undergraduates, high employability rates for graduates, strong links with business and industry, an innovative system of research pooling and research investment, high levels of research impact, including many spin-off companies, success in winning research income, and the strong recruitment of international students. On its publication, Lloyd Anderson of the British Council Scotland said, "The report tells a remarkable story of a national academic system that is world-class, highly innovative, a story of which Scotland should be very proud. The nation's assets include a higher than expected number of world-class universities as rated by both academic indicators and the students themselves, and a uniquely joined-up, collaborative and inclusive sector." And Professor Nigel Seaton, the Vice-Chair of the International Committee at the University of Scotland and Principal and Vice-Chancellor of the University of Aberdeen, said, "This report confirms the distinctive strengths that put Scottish higher education on the world stage, especially emphasises on our integrated approach to lifelong learning as supported by the Scottish Credit and Qualifications Framework." In section 3.11 of the report, which looks at non-EU international students, it highlights some of the successes that Scotland has in this area. It particularly looks to US and Canada as successes, and it also says other successes have been increased enrolments from China and India, although the rate from India has fallen recently, and recent indicators are that Indian enrolments have been adversely hit by changes to UK immigration policies. Presiding Officer, in June 22, 2005, the Fresh Talent Initiative was launched in Scotland. Jack McConnell said a year earlier, "I laid a challenge down to Scotland, to challenge of growth. I set out the economic and social case for increasing Scotland's population through promoting ourselves within the UK's policy of managed migration. The policy statement describes how Scotland's devolved government will begin to reverse the population decline that threatens our future prosperity through the modern scheme of managed migration." Today in this chamber, Jamie McGregor was asking a question about Argyll and Bute, about the demographic challenges and the decrease in population in that area. These problems are well known and well understood within Scotland. And if ever there was an argument for why we need constitutional change, it is this very issue. We had a policy that represented what the needs of Scotland were. We negotiated that policy. It was delivered and it worked for Scotland. Nothing has changed in our challenges. What has changed is in the whim of a Westminster government with political pressures that are not relevant in Scotland, they took away and cancelled that Fresh Talent Initiative. There's also been quite a bit of discussion this afternoon about the objective justification within the White Paper, but very little discussion about why that objective justification is there. We must remind ourselves it is there because of the obscenity of charging students up to £9,000 a year south of the border for their education, something that we don't agree with in Scotland and do not want to have to introduce. This is not something that this is something we're being forced into because of the poor decisions about charging for education elsewhere in the UK. And of course, The future is not about the current, no thank you. The future is not about the status quo versus what's in the white paper, because the very likely outcome of the political changes that we're seeing as a result of last week's election is that the EU relationship will be renegotiated and voted on. And we have no clearer future as to how the rest of the UK and their relationship of the EU will go forward. So I'm less worried about this than the rest of the opposition members seem to be. I have many quotes here from submissions from Colleges Scotland and in evidence about this issue, and I'm very sorry that I'll not be able to have many of them today. But if I could just point to Professor Wright, who's from the Department of Economics in the University of Strathclyde, where he says that English-speaking countries, of which there are many, say 5 or 6, the issue is critical for Scotland because higher education sector, there's a huge compared to the sector in England and many other countries, and it's very more important to our economy. And he goes on to say he's losing students to Canada because they can't work within the visa system that the UK government has set.